Okay, today is August the 2nd, 2020. Roughly 2 months after that infamous interview that we all witnessed between Mohammed Hijab and Dr. Yassabkadi, where Dr. Yassabkadi was asked simply about the Qira'at and Ahruf, these different derivations of Qur'ans using different dots and vowels. Remember that interview? Well, what you're going to find is that interview is no longer online. That has completely been excised, completely been taken off, completely been censored by both Dr. Yassabkadi and also by Mohammed Hijab. Today, I've been getting emails, and I was told to look and see on the internet, see if I could find them. So I went up on both of Yassabkadi's site and also on Mohammed Hijab's site. Let me show you what I found. So this is Yassabkadi's YouTube site today. Take a look at it. Looks nondescript. August 2nd, nothing really important to look at. But June 8th video, look down where I've just outlined it in red. That's the video that he put up on the same day that he did the interview with Mohammed Hijab, June 8th, just about 2 months ago. It's on the Mahdi. But take a look what comes next. June 10th. There's the video on advice on the death of a loved one. So from June 8th to June 10th, something is missing. Where is the June 8th video featuring Qadhi and Hijab on the hole in the narrative interview? It's no longer there. As of August 2nd, it is no longer there. They have completely excised it. Well, let's go over to Mohammed Hijab's site. Now remember, Mohammed Hijab did have the video on his site as well, but he just took out the last 26 minutes. About a week after it was put up, after June 8th, about a week later, he then took out the last damaging 26 minutes, and so it was only an hour and 14 minutes long. But take a look at today. Now, this is August 2nd. We're 2 months later, and let's look and see what we see here. Well, there is the June 5th video with Ben Shapiro. It's been there since June 5th. But what follows it? Here's the June 14th video with Ustad Abdul Rahman Hassan. From June 5th to June 14th, something has been taken out. Where is the June 8th video featuring Qadhi and Hijab on the hole in the narrative interview? Not only has Yassabkadi taken it out of his site, his YouTube channel, so has Mohammed Hijab. They have both completely shut down that video. It is no longer on either of their sites as of August 2nd, 2020. So you can see, they've taken them off. They've taken them off. Why in the world would they take them off? Well, let's recount some of what happened in that interview, and I'll just show you a few clips right here. Just take a look at these clips.
Okay. And what is your position in relation to preservation of Quran? Is, for example, Hafs an Asim, riwayat Hafs an Asim, do you see it as preserved, munazzal from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or do you not see that as munazzal? What's your position?
Jayid. Okay, so first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna nahnu nazzal dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. So we believe, as a matter of theology, as a matter of aqeedah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preserved the Quran, no question about it. Now, as for the issue itself, every single student of knowledge knows, who studies ulum al-Quran, that the most difficult topics are Ahruf and Qira'at, and the concept of Ahruf and the reality of Ahruf, and the relationship of the Uthmanic Mus'haf with the Ahruf, and the preservation of the Ahruf. Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 7? And the relationship of the Qira'at to the Ahruf. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out. And you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward and difficult. And this isn't new. This is from the time of the Sahaba. And this is not a joke, brothers and sisters. The issue of Ahruf and Qira'at caused confusion to somebody whom the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want to listen to the Quran directly, listen to Ubay. I mentioned the crises that happened to me at Yale, my first year at Yale. It wasn't a crisis of faith, by the way, so I was very clear about this. People misinterpret it. It was a crisis of my understanding of knowledge. It was a crisis of what my teachers taught me. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, as somebody who memorized the Quran as a teenager, alhamdulillah, in my entire life, I have never doubted that the Quran is divine. You cannot doubt that. And you listen to it, you recite it, you just cannot doubt that. It's never been an issue. This was the issue. That the issue of ahruf and preservation and qira'at and relationships between them, these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions in there. These issues should only be discussed amongst people who know what the qira'at are and who understand some of these questions that are being raised. Traditional understandings of ahruf and qira'at cannot answer some of these pressing questions that are now being poked by our people outside of, by our academics, not our, by their academics outside of the faith tradition. You see, in a Muslim environment, there's always some respect that we have for the Quran. We should. In a Muslim environment, we'll press a little bit and then we'll say, okay, khalas, sami'na wa ata'na. And that's great, alhamdulillah. When you go to academia, they don't have that red line. And they're going to just, you know, the famous story of the emperor with no clothes. They're going to just point out, no, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's not true, and this and that. And they'll bring issues, which I'm not going to mention explicitly, that you know are true because they're in your own books. They're not inventing anything new. And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions. You know, these are now well known within the Western Academy that they're bringing forth issues. Their level of now knowledge is leaps and bounds above what it used to be, you know, 100 years ago. You know, and by and large, our ulama in the Eastern world are not aware, by and large, of what's going on in the Western side of things, and they're not answering those questions in a manner that it needs to be answered. And this is something all of us that are in academia fully acknowledge. We actually, this issue of ahruf and qira'at has troubled the ummah from the very beginning of times. Nothing new. Issues of the relationship, of the origins, of the ikhtilaf and all of this should only be discussed amongst those who are familiar with this science. It takes a while. I can't answer this question in a 20-minute interview, nor is it wise to do so, which is why I never brought this topic up myself. You will not find one lecture of mine about this issue. It should never be brought up in public. And I don't like these idiots, and they are idiots, wallahi. This is not something you discuss amongst the masses, ya akhi. It's not wise. You don't understand qira'at, let it be. It's wise. That's why I never did it. It's the Western academics. These problems are now becoming mainstream. Twitter has so many accounts of Quran experts, and they're non-Muslims, and they're just saying things.
Let me ask you one question to try and make this as specific as possible. I think if I were to give you a blank mushaf, and tell you to write what is munazzal verbatim from Allah into that mushaf with no human interference, would you write something which corresponds?
It's not an easy answer. It's not an easy yes or no. It is enough for the Muslim to believe that the
I think
Quran
this should be an easy yes or no, though. Yassabkadi. I have to.
Okay, very well. So, yeah, Mohammed, after we get off this phone call, me and you, let's have a number of discussions. No problem. I'm very open with advanced students. But these issues should not... Look, it is Kalamullah, what is going to be written. It is Kalamullah.
What would you write?
You're pushing me. And I'm saying it's not hikmah to... Listen, I have a condition, like I said, everything I say is going to be factual. The Quran is the uncreated speech of Allah. The Quran is preserved. The Quran is known. The Quran is mutawatir. And alhamdulillah, all of the qira'at are the Quran. All of the qira'at are authentic. Alhamdulillah. Leave it at that, ya akhi. Beyond this, honestly, I have no problem. We'll have discussions or take my class. It is enough for the Muslim to know that the Quran is the speech of Allah that has been protected, and what we recite is the kalam of Allah. That is enough for the Muslim.
Yeah, but then if I could push back here just a little bit, I know this is, I don't want to make it uncomfortable, but it's just to make things clearer. Like if someone gave you a Quran which is empty in terms of there's nothing on it, and gave you a pen, obviously you have the Quran, but the question is, would what you write in that mushaf correspond with anything that we have in terms of the riwayat and the qira'at?
Who's going to bring a new Quran? A'udhu billah. We're going to have the Quran there, but which qira'ah will it be in? It'll be probably a mixture, right? It's not going to be necessarily... Yeah, okay, so let's leave it at that then. It's not gonna be the exact Hafs and Asim bi riwayati fulan or Shu'ba the Hijab.
But you would have something which you could say is sahih.
Fully recognizable by the average Muslim, obviously. Anything bizarre, strange.
So when you write, so just to be clear, if you write down, it might not be a standard Hafs and Asim.
Exactly, yes.
But what you write down will be is recognizable, and you believe that everything within that is munazzal min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
100% as Allah is my witness. 100%. That is the belief.
Yes.
So just in review, Qadhi says this is one of the most difficult topics is Ahruf in Qira'at. And that you have to do a deep dive. When you do that deep dive, things begin to get awkward. Not a joke, he said. This is not a joke. And that he had a crisis, not of faith. He was very clear to say there was not a crisis of faith, like Mohammed Hijab seemed to have. Remember, back in 2016, when we showed this for the first time, when Hutton and I actually put it up there, remember this clip? Take a look at this clip.
There are approximately 26 of the Qur'an.
26 different Qur'an. But by the time you get to the war, they were killed! That is a huge
Attention! Don't give
Your faces! Muslim people! Your face, come here! Come!
You better go! We're going to make it more and more difficult for you!
There was Mohammed Hijab standing right there in the crowd, and that's why he was the one that wanted to ask Yassabkadi what his opinion on it. Why? Because Yassabkadi represents the Western view, whereas Mohammed Hijab represents the much more populist view, the much more, I would say, 99.9% of all Muslims. Yassabkadi represents a more Western academic view. He's living here in the United States. Don't want to say it's really 1%, but really there is a clash. And he said this. He said there was a crisis that they had, that Muslim scholars could not resolve this problem between the Ahruf and the Qira'at. And these issues should not be discussed by those who don't understand. Very clear. Muslims have a respect for the Quran, he said, but not so here in Western academia. And then he made that infamous line that everybody's quoting. The standard narrative has holes in it. The standard narrative has holes in it. What is the standard narrative? That is the one that's coming from the traditional view. This is the classical account. This is the account that we see in the traditions. This is the account that we see in Al-Bukhari. This is the account that we see put together by Ibn Mujahid and Al-Jazari. These are those who I've been talking about, who actually delineated who the 30 readers and narrators, transmitters would be. The 30 authoritative readers and transmitters. And so the Eastern Islam, that's over here in the East, is not aware of Western academia and cannot answer them. And he kept on repeating that this is something that you only discuss amongst the learned, and you certainly can't discuss it in a 20-minute interview like he was saying. Actually, it was about an hour and 45-minute interview, and certainly should not be discussed in public. You remember when, not just once, but twice, I think it was, in that whole interview, Mohammed Hijab asked him, if I gave you a blank musaf, if I gave you a blank sheaf, if I gave you a blank piece of paper, what would you write on it? What would be there? And at first, he recoiled. He did not want to answer that. It took about almost 25 minutes, finally, before he asked him a second time. And he said, I want to push back on this. I want to push back on this. If I gave you a blank piece of paper, what would you write? Would it be Hafs and Nasim? In other words, would be the Hafs, the ones we use today, from the reader, from the family of Asim? And his response was, it would be a mixture, not an exact Hafs, but fully recognizable by the average Muslim, and 100% from Allah. And 100% from Allah. So all 30 of them, a mixture of all 30, wouldn't be all of Hafs, it wouldn't be all of Warsh, it wouldn't be all of Asim, it wouldn't be all of Qalun, it wouldn't be all of Rao and all the other 30 that you can name. It would be a mixture of all of them, but it's 100% from Allah. It is preserved. And he went through his mantra. The Quran is a speech of Allah. It is preserved. It is protected. It is known. And all the Qira'at are the Quran. Can you then understand why that was so damaging? Fascinating. So, what do they do to the Quran? Be careful of Muslims. What you will find out is whenever they have a problem with their Quran, they will either, they will burn it like Uthman did, or they'll allow goats to eat it like Aisha did, or they will take their pen and they will try to write over top of it, or they'll take an eraser and try to erase it, or they will try to cover it or put tapes over top of it like Dan Brubaker has found with all the earliest mushafs. Or, as we found about a century ago in 1924, they would take of the 30 that were authoritative, they wanted to bring it down to Hafs from Asim. They would take the other 29, dump them into the Nile and try to drown it. And now in the 21st century, 100 years later, they don't just do that. They first try to shut down all the comments. That's what Yassabkadi did, and that's what Mohammed Hijab did back 2 months ago. But if that didn't work, then do what Mohammed Hijab did. Take out the incriminating 26 to 28 minutes. Just take that part out. That still wasn't good enough, because now on August 2nd, both of them, because of all the damage it has done to their credibility and also to the credibility of the Quran itself, they've just completely taken the entire interview out. It is no longer there. So, you can either burn it, or you can have goats eat it, or you can try to excise it by scrubbing it with erasers, or trying to cover it, or tape it, or write over top of it, or you can drown it, or you can simply censor it. Take it off the internet. Thank God we don't have that problem with the Bible. Thank God you can criticize it till the cows come home. You can criticize it till the moon turns blue. And we have never had to burn or drown or try to eradicate anything of the Bible or anything about the Bible or anything that's been written about the Bible. We allow people to attack it. We allow people to critique it. We allow people to unpack it. And we allow people also to learn from it. And that's the beauty of our Bible. We don't have to censor a thing. This is something new. This is something new to me, but it seems like it's not new to the Muslims. If you want a bigger book, come on back to the Bible. Okay, this is Jay then. Over and out.